All right, here we go. Got one of the Bay Area OGs in the house right now. You know what I mean? The place where I'm from.
Shout out my man Vlad TV. You already know.
Yeah, man. I mean, we actually go back. I was in one of your old videos.
And
You know,
all we do, me,
right.
Jack, and La Rue.
Exactly.
Rest in
Back in the
peace,
day.
Jack.
Back in the day, man. Like, I've been seeing you grinding now for, over a decade.
A little bit longer, but I take that.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, this is the first time you're sitting down with me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the whole story. Now, you actually grew up in Cypress Village?
Yeah. Cypress Village Projects, right where like my projects is located right where the freeway fell in 1989.
Oh, where it collapsed.
Yeah, like the Cypress structure. The freeway was called the Cypress structure. Like
Right.
I'm from the Cypress Projects.
I remember that day, actually.
Yeah, me
that,
too.
that was a fucked up day.
Me too.
Yeah, I remember my dad, wasn't home. He was doing a job or something, and there was no cell phones. No one had cell phones back then, and it was
I was
you're
scared as
seeing,
fuck, huh?
you're seeing the Cypress collapse. Was the Bay Bridge?
Yeah.
A chunk just came out, and the car went over. It was like one of those worst days in the Bay, kind of days, man.
Yeah.
Luckily, he ended up being okay, but it was right there, huh? So you guys were next to just that demolition.
They evacuated our projects and shit.
Okay. What do you think was the hardest thing about growing up in Cypress?
The drugs, just like your parents being on drugs, and then just everybody just selling drugs around you. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You got to be a real strong person to come about that lifestyle, not get taken under by that shit.
So your parents were on drugs?
Yeah, my mom, she sold drugs, did drugs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I grew up with my mom. My dad left to Chicago on the run and never came back until I was 21.
What was he on the run for?
He went to the penitentiary and then didn't want to check in with parole and all that shit. So he just ran. He always ran.
Okay, so you're growing up with your dad gone, and your mom is using.
Yeah.
Was it cocaine, crack?
Cocaine.
Cocaine.
Or crack. Yeah.
Whatever's available, I guess. How old were you when you realized what was actually happening with your mom?
My mom hid it good because, like I said, she also sold drugs. So, back then, everybody sold and did drugs. So it didn't really get bad until later. But when I was younger, I knew what was going on at a very young age, maybe 3, 4.
At 3 or 4, you knew that your mom was using? I mean, you didn't even know what drugs were at that point.
Not using. I just know. I knew what crack was. When I was 5 years old, my older brother died from ingesting crack. He was in a high-speed chase from the police, and instead of throwing the crack out and losing it, he swallowed it. And
it had the reaction in the stomach.
Yeah.
And
But that's how, when you selling crack, sometimes that's how you do it. You swallow it, and then you throw it back up.
if you can.
Yeah, if you can. But
Right, I mean, it's
he wasn't
basically
that fortunate.
Yeah, I mean, this is why, you always hear these stories of people that try to smuggle drugs from Mexico and stuff like that by swallowing these bags, and then sometimes the bag opens up from the stomach acid, and the person ends up having a heart attack on the plane. So it was kind of something like that.
Yeah.
How old were you when that happened?
5.
Okay, so you still you remember your brother and stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember the day it happened.
Okay, how'd you take it?
Initially, I thought it was a joke because somebody came over there, was like, they taking your brother to the hospital, and I was like, I kind of laughed, I'm a kid, I kind of laughed it off ha ha ha, y'all playing. And then something go home and see what's going on. And I walked home, you feel me? And then they was bringing him out on a stretcher. He wasn't dead yet, but he wasn't responsive. He had went into comatose.
Cardiac arrest, I guess. How'd your mom take it? Because your mom was using as your brother and selling as your brother is selling.
Yeah.
Did she somewhat introduce it to him, or?
From what I understood, from what she told me is, when she found out he was selling drugs, she said I couldn't stop him. So I showed him how to do it. You know what I'm saying? I taught him, like taught him how to cook it. Like she taught him how to basically try to be safe with it.
But that's one of those things where you can't be safe.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no safety net when you talk about selling crack.
Yeah.
Weed is one of those things where you could basically chill. You know what I mean? Even when it was illegal in the Bay, weed was a different type of thing. People weren't getting killed over weed usually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There weren't like these massive robberies and people selling fake weed and shit like that. But in the cocaine game, it's fucked up. I dabbled here and there in it early, and I'm like, this shit ain't for me. Like, this is too crazy for me.
It just generates so much money. Like, you feel me? And then like heroin is even worse. Like heroin generating more money than coke.
Yeah, but it's a harder drug even though.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you upset with your mom over her somewhat involvement in your brother's situation?
No, I wasn't really upset with her because even like at 5, like I knew who my brother was. You feel me? Like my brother died when he was 18.
Okay.
I'm saying he had a Rolls Royce, 2 Benzes.
He had a Rolls Royce at 18.
A Rolls
so
Royce.
He was like the kingpin of that?
He wasn't like, because it was people more richer than that. It was people older than him and more richer, you know what I'm saying? But,
but
they called him Richie, like his nickname was like Richie Rich. Like not like Richie Rich the rapper, like
Richie Rich the cartoon.
Yeah.
The boy with the the
little,
millionaire.
The rich kid.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So at 18 he had 2 Rolls Royces.
No, one Rolls Royce, 2 Benzes, and a Seville, a Cadillac Seville.
I've always wondered why in the Bay. It's almost like your status symbol is how many cars you have. You know what I mean? It's like it's not even almost. It seems like in the Bay the cars are more prestigious than the jewelry. Like if you have a bunch of cars, people feel like you made it.
Because people know what them cars is costing.
Yeah.
And they add it up. So if he can afford $400,000 cars.
Yeah. But he was still living in the projects?
No. He had a condominium.
Okay, so he moved out
in Modesto when he passed. Yeah.
Was you and your mom still living in Cypress?
Yeah, but we was back and forth from his house to Cypress too. Well, she had a house in Cypress and he had a house in Modesto. So we used to go back and forth.
I mean, you're talking about hundreds of, the Rolls Royce by itself is $300,000-$400,000, and the Benzes, you're talking about $500,000-$600,000 in cars. Why even go back to Cypress at all? You see what I'm saying?
It's hood mentalities.
Like why? You have enough money to just put that in your rear view at this point.
I mean, he was 18. He was 18. You feel me? And my mother was selling. Like my mother, she would sell drugs in her house in Cypress. So that was like her trap house.
Yeah.
You feel me? Which we'd go out to stay in Modesto a few days out the week and then go trap in Cypress. My grandmother stayed in Cypress too. So I would be at my grandmama's house while my mama was trapping in the other house.
How many siblings total?
Just me and my brother. My mother had another baby, my little sister, but that was after my brother passed.
After that, yeah. Well, I guess in Cypress, the crime was so bad that the city came in and remodeled the houses and got rid of the back doors.
Yeah. No, they didn't get rid of the back doors. They got rid of an outlet through the back door. Like you can go out your back door and you got a backyard and everything, but that where everybody's backyard got gates. It's one way in, one way out. So everybody, if the whole complex go out their back door, they still have to walk through the walkway and come out through the other way. Like everybody has to go out that way.
Okay.
And then they knock down, how garbage cans, garbage cans, they be in those little brick things. They made our brick things extra high, so you can't even jump up and climb over them no more.